Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you a piece of art that I did for the Digital Background Exchange collaboration. There's 4 of us participating. Links to their videos are below so that you can go and click through. There's Peg Robinson, Gina Ahrens, and Bea Grob, and myself. So what we do is we make a background for the season, and it's summer solstice today, the first day of summer, so happy summer, happy official summer. So each of us made a summer-themed background. Then we scanned it at a high quality and shared it with each other. Each of us printed out the background that we wanted to use. Some of us made more than one. And then we make something out of it. And we can use them individually as 4 different pieces of art, or we can use them collaboratively like I did to make a collage. So here I am making my background, and I did make 2 different ones, but you'll see both of them here, and they're similar. I'm using my gel plate, my 8x10 gel plate, and my 6x6 gel plate. I have a grapefruit and an orange and a lemon, I think, or lime slice. The oranges and grapefruit is cut in half, and then the other one is just a slice, like a slice. And I'm using them to make marks on my gel plate with different colors of paint. And then I'm also using my neutrals set of Posca pens. This is an acrylic paint pen to draw little squiggles and whatever onto the plate as well, to just fill up all the space with different colors. Interestingly, the paints that I had were basically the same colors as this set of Posca pens, and the paints I purchased at Hobby Lobby. So they are a different brand. I can't remember right now, but I'll link them in the description box below. I always put links to the products that I use in the description box below. I also have this stencil, which I believe was one of the club stencils recently, like a few months back, from Stencil Girl, and I'm also using it to make some designs. I'm just trying to make an interesting background by putting all these different layers of paint onto my 8x10 gel plate and then letting them all dry. So I've got just, some of the designs from the stencils. Some of it is hand-drawn with my Posca pens. Some of it is stamped on there with my citrus fruit, because citrus fruit to me says summer, although I know we can pick it in the fall, which means it's not a summer thing. But you get lemonade, and you get mimosas, and you get all the refreshing citrus drinks and stuff in the summer. So that's why it says summer to me. So then once most of that was mostly dry on the paper, then I used some white acrylic paint in my brayer to pick up all the dried paint off the plate, and that's one of my backgrounds. The 2 that I scanned are the ones from the larger plate. The other ones are just extras. So then for my second pull, it didn't have as much design on it, so I put some of the colors of paint back on the 6x6. I'm using the 6x6 basically as an ink pad, and I'm stamping my fruit onto the page by picking up the paint off the 6x6. So it's really useful for that. Also to help your brayer roll smoothly, you can roll onto the smaller plate and then roll it onto the bigger plate. It's just nice to have 2. And sometimes you only need a smaller one, sometimes you need a bigger one. So here's the backgrounds that I printed out, and they're printed on a laser printer, not my printer at home because it's broken. So I have one of Gina's, I have Bea's, I have one of Peg's. No, I think she just had one, and then I have one of mine. And the one that I have of mine is the lighter one that I had stamped the citrus fruit onto it, so it was like a second pull. So it was the one you saw at the very end. So then this is my journal made out of sheets of gel printed paper. So my background is already a gel printed piece. I thought it was too dark for what I wanted, so I just took some paint, squirted on there, and then scraped it with an old gift card to kind of add a little bit of lighter blue into that background for my collage. I just thought it was too dark. But I liked my collage being next to this painting of Pele that I had on the other side because I'm going to make a sunshine, and she's a volcano princess, fire princess, and so, or deity or goddess or whatever. So I thought that having those two side by side seemed to make a lot of sense to me because they're both hot, hot, hot. Uh, the the backgrounds that people made, mine is actually the lightest, most pastel one. The rest of them are bright. Well, Gina's had some bright yellow and then some lighter colors, but both Bea's and um, Peg's were just hot, intense pinks and yellows and oranges, and that's what kind of prompted me to make a sunshine. This type of an image is real popular where I live. I live in the Arizona desert, and images of the sun are all over the place. There's lots of metal work, art, lots of, on signs and stuff, you'll see these stylized sunshines. You also see them in like on clay pots and things like that. So they're just everywhere. It's a common image, and it's one that I really like. I've actually been considering getting a tattoo of a sunshine, and the only reason I haven't done it, well, there's two reasons. One, tattoos are expensive. And two, I'm not sure where exactly to put it on my body. Um, but I like the idea of it. It's such an iconic image and so desert rat, it would represent how I feel about the desert. I love it here. So the background piece for my collage starts out with this piece of my own background that has now been printed. And since it was printed on a laser printer, it's not going to run. I didn't have to seal it. Normally I print on an inkjet printer at home, but mine is it's just messed up. I need to get a new one, I think. I don't think it's even fixable. I've tried everything I can think of to fix it. So I drew out my face on deli paper. And I have this huge box of 12 by 12 deli paper that I just use for everything. Oftentimes I will actually glue my collage pieces to the deli paper and then just glue the whole thing on because it's so thin it doesn't matter. But in this case, I'm just using it as a pattern. So I use my pencil to draw all my shapes onto my circle, and it's slightly off the page. I didn't want to put it smack dab in the middle. I think it looks more visually interesting if it's a little bit off. And so I did have to cut one portion of the circle off, which is fine, that so that it's slightly off on the page. I find that more attractive. And then I start with the shadows under the cheekbones. I guess that's how you would describe that piece of paper. And I cut them out from the deli paper, then just temporarily attach them to my other paper, cut out the shapes, and then I keep putting the deli paper back on to make sure that I'm getting everything straight. So it's kind of this back and forth thing. So I cut out the orbital, the shadow under the orbital bone where the eye sets next, and I'm starting to collage. I'm using Liquitex matte gel medium, which is a thicker gel medium. I prefer matte. I don't like glossy things. And also my distressed collage brush. It's a nice fat brush that I can apply the matte medium to both the back of the paper and the surface that I'm gluing it to. So it's glue to glue. It works better that way. Since I had these kind of temporarily tacked on with a glue stick, I'm kind of going under and tucking under and just, moving things back and forth, trying to get everything straight. This is the basis of my face. It needs to be as balanced as I can make it. Of course, my drawing is not perfectly balanced either. Everything's a little bit wonky, but that's okay. It's a drawing that's, I'm not requiring perfection of myself when I draw something. It's more my hand and my art if it's not perfectly balanced or even or whatever. So that would be meaning that a machine made it instead of a human. If the computer made this design, it would be perfect. It would all be completely balanced and lined up, but it wasn't a machine. So then I have this little shadow spot up at the top, the forehead, where it would slope back a little bit, has a little bit of a shadow. I've got that, and I'm just using the 4 digital prints as collage material and cutting my different things out mostly by sticking the deli paper cutout piece onto my collage paper and then cutting around the lines. Works out pretty well. It's like making yourself an applique pattern. So then I've got eyebrows. I have my eye shapes, which so the bigger piece is darker in the back. That's where the shadow would be under the brow bone, under the eye. And so that's going to be darker. And then I need a lighter, like eyelid and under eyelid needs to be a little bit lighter. So I'm cutting those pieces out. But I'm not just cutting the eyelids out. I'm cutting the whole piece. And then I just keep layering one thing on top of another until it all works. It's a process. It's sometimes I do it freehand. The last one that I did was almost all freehand. I think that was spring, and I'll be sure to put the iCard right here. Let me write down the time so that you can go look at that one if you want to. I'll also put it in the end card. It's a spring collage of kind of the goddess of spring, basically. And I did it freehand. This one I did make a pattern for myself. So the next thing that needs to go on is the inner part of the eye. So now when I put that's the back side of one of the printed sheets is the white of the eyes. And then that leaves those lighter lids. So you can see I didn't need to cut them out separately. And then of course we have to have a nose. And I'm trimming out some of this video so that you don't have to watch me cut out pieces because that's annoying. And the nose kind of needs 2 parts. It needs to have a darker part down at the bottom, but I guess I started to work on the lips next. I've got the crease under the lips and the lips out of one piece, and then I put a second lighter piece on the bottom lip where the highlight would come in. You know, it would hit the bottom lip, the top of the bottom lip. So there's a little bit of a lighter piece. I should have made it slightly lighter. It's not quite as light as I should have made it. And then I have a little highlight for the chin at the bottom, and I'm gluing all these down. This is where I put some shadow on the tip of the nose because the light part would hit the top of the nose all the way to the top, to the button part of your nose, and then underneath would be darker where your nostrils are, if that makes sense. I've got some pupils for the eyes, and those were cut out from a scrap. That's the only piece of collage paper on here that is not from the ones that I printed. And I still have some left, so I'm going to use them for some more ATCs. Probably next week we're going to do collage ATCs on the live stream, so I'll probably use them then because they're beautiful and they don't smear with the glue or anything, so I'll definitely be using these bright colored pieces on a collage ATC sometime coming up soon. You'll see it. So now I'm just cutting long triangles and putting in sun rays, and I've got a combination on there of Bea's background and Peg's background mostly, and then the nose and the eyelids and some of that were done with Gina's, and of course the light face part is mine. Didn't use very much of my own. Just the whole background. So then once I have all the pointy ones on, now I'm making kind of some more shapes that look like flames, like curvy flames, to put around and kind of fill in around the face. It makes it look more feminine. If I left it with just the straight ones, to me it looks masculine. And when I add in the curlier ones, shorter curlier ones around, it looks more feminine. And those are cut out of Gina's and also mine. And a little bit of, I think, the orange part of Baya's, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, I'm just cutting it up, cutting it all up. So that's just what happens to these poor papers. They get cut up, chopped up. So once those are all cut out, then I'll apply them, glue them all down at one time. Now I think it's looking pretty cute. It's mostly filled in the way I want it. I do end up adding a couple more things as I go through as far as collage, but this is the majority of the collage done. I end up putting some cheeks on, like little round cheek pieces. Yeah, there they go, cheek pieces. Those are cut out of my background. I didn't want them to be like super bright, but just making like rounded cheeks. This sunshine has a very round face. So these are Stabilo Woodies. You see me using my Stabilo All pencil all the time. It's a highly water reactive pencil. I use the black one all the time. Occasionally you'll see me use the gray one or the white, but mostly the black. And I didn't want to use very much black on this. I wanted to use different colors, and I decided to use these Woodies, which are basically the same thing, only they're in colors. They come in a set like this, and I will link it in the description box below. Very, very reactive to water. As soon as you touch it with water, they start to blend. So I'm using the brown to start out with. This is like just kind of a dark brown, and starting to add some shadow around. I went around the whole circle. I went under the eyebrows, under the eyelids, and I'm, of course, blending that with my water tank brush. This is a Pentel one. Filling in the nostrils, putting shadow under the nose, under the lip, you know, every place that shadow would be with the brown, because I didn't want to do black. I just wasn't feeling black. Although I did end up using a little bit of black later. Trying to lighten up a little bit on the black lines everywhere, my illustration line thing, and trying to change that habit just a little bit. So under the cheekers, just everywhere I can think of that might need a little bit of extra shadow. I do this to make the collage appear more finished instead of just a bunch of glued on stuff. If you add shadows and highlights, it blends into the paper more, adds a lot more character to the drawing or collage or whatever it is. And just, I don't know, it just makes it more interesting. I'm now doing some red, and I just scribbled the Stabilo onto my underpaper, and I'm picking it up with the water brush to basically go in the same areas that I did before. Some, and add just a little bit of warm color. The brown was a warm color, but not, I don't know, red's warmer. Then around all the edges where the sun rays are, I'm using this blue and blending that in to integrate all the sun rays into the background. I've got this sped up to 16 times fast. I rarely use that speed, but I had to try to fit all this into a shorter amount of time, and it was a pretty long project. So I also put some dark around the eyes with that same blue color, and that's now bringing in that blue from the background into the composition, so it makes it look more balanced. The eyes are where it's at. You know, I've got to jazz up the eyes quite a bit. So now here's my black Stabilo pencil. I thought that the nostrils still were not quite dark enough, and I needed to put pupils in the eyes, and I wanted those to be black, so I did get out the black pencil. Just a little bit, just a tiny bit here and there. Okay, a little bit more than this, but you know where I'm going here. I also ended up putting some eyelashes on with the black Stabilo pencil after the camera was off. So the pictures that you'll see some eyelashes that have been drawn in, and those were just with that same Stabilo All pencil. I didn't blend them or anything, I just drew them in. After I'd already turned the camera off, I didn't want to turn it back on, so it was just a final little thing to make it look just slightly more feminine. Of course, guys have eyelashes too, but you know what I'm saying. Still defining the eyes. They to me feel like the most important part of a character. It really like shows the soul or whatever. So then I have this white woody pencil, but it's not as white as I want. I wish it was really, really white. Like on dark it probably would be, but it just wasn't showing up as white as I wanted. So I just haven't quite finished my project until I bring in a Posca pen, right? See, it's white, but it's not as white as I wanted it. So I did have to add a few white highlights with my white Posca acrylic pen. So I had to add the catch light in the eye and things like that. And I blended it out with my water brush. So I hope you've enjoyed this project. Be sure to go and check out all the other videos. They're linked in the description box below so that you can see what other people did with the same backgrounds that they've printed out at home and used in their projects. And I have no idea what they are, so it'll be exciting. If you have enjoyed this, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment or question below. Oh, there's where I put a little bit of a tip of a nose on there with another collage piece because it just needed it. Of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Share if you want to. All those great things help me grow my channel. So that's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.